Hey everybody, and welcome back. Haven't seen you guys in a couple weeks, but I'm glad to be here. And today I got Barbara in the chair, and Barbara is going to get some flat iron curls today and a trim. Now, Barbara, let me tell you about her. Me and her, I was at the gym and I was in the sauna, which I rarely do. I like the sauna, but I like the steam room a little more. And I'm sitting in the sauna because the only reason I don't really get in the sauna at my gym is because it's always cracking. There's so many people in there. It's like you can never really get a little moment of, emptiness in there. So I walked past this one. I said, "Oh, it's looking a little sparse." So I stepped up in there and I'm sitting there and I'm chilling. And Barbara was in there. And she looked over at me. She's like, "Don't you do hair?" She's like, "I follow you on Instagram. Oh my goodness, just gave me the love." And we started talking. And she asked about getting her hair done. And I was just telling her, I don't do hair behind the chair anymore, just for educational purposes on YouTube. And we just kept talking, and I was like, "You want to come in?" So here we are. Here's me and Barbara. Barbara does lashes in LA, and she just moved there not too long ago, but she does really great lashes in the city. So if you're in the city, check Barbara out. I'm gonna put her handle in the box below so you can get into her. So I don't know if you were just paying attention to how gently I had to just do her first section. Barbara had, she might have had a unit or a sew-in. Either way, when you take your braids out, your hair is like, a lot more tangly. So when you take your braids out, you have to always make sure that, you comb through your hair and just do everything you can to get that hair detangled, but gently, because if you don't do it gently, especially right now, I'm going to say what I always say, that the hair is always weakest when it's wet. So you don't want to rip through her hair because every strand counts. But when you take your braids out, right? The thing is, everybody loses 75 to 150 strands a day. That's like the growth and replace system of our hair. It's just natural. I know 75 to 150 sounds crazy. When I was in hair school, I was like, huh? I'm like, I did not like that. But it's like, even when you wear your hair out, when you comb or brush your hair every day, you notice it's just a bunch of strands in the comb or the brush or in the bathroom sink. Wherever you are, you're going to see strands of hair. And it's literally just your hair shedding, and the next strand of hair is going to come from the root. So it's got to push it through. It's almost like losing a tooth when you're a kid. So the new tooth pushes the old tooth out, and that's just how hair works. So it's not a bad thing. Now, you should be able to notice if your hair is shedding too much, but for the most part, 75 to 150 strands is the norm. So when your hair is braided, whether you have extensions, whether you have a sew-in, a unit with your hair braided up, usually your hair is braided up for like a couple of weeks to 2 months. And so can you imagine the amount of hair that's shedding every single day, but you're not able to comb it out like you usually are into the comb or brush? So what's happening is the hair is just shedding, but it's sitting in the braids. And when you take your braids out, you comb and brush your hair, you end up with this big old ball of hair in your hand, and you're stressed out. Like, why did I lose so much hair? This is supposed to be a protective style, yada, yada, yada. But all it is that you weren't able to comb your hair and get those regular strands out in the comb or brush every day. So that's all that is. So that's why it's really important to detangle and get rid of those strands when you first take the braids out before you shampoo your hair. Simply because if you don't do that and you go to shampoo your hair, all those loose strands, all they're going to do is start raveling all within the hair that's still attached to your scalp, and then you end up with a whole bunch of knots and matting your hair up. I know I've been there. I know a lot of you probably been there, where you simply, washed your hair and it got tangled and matted, and that's more than likely why, because you didn't detangle and comb through and get all of those loose hairs out. So that's the lesson for today. So Barbara, me and her talk. Now, I talk to everybody, whether you guys think so or not, because some people get a little up in arms about trimming too much. But most clients come in and they say, do what needs to be done. Or sometimes clients come and say, I want to take a few inches off. But Barbara was one of the ones that said, I just want to gradually take my hair off. So she didn't want to she didn't want to go up as high as we could have went. You know what I'm saying? So as you see, it's a little sparse in the middle, really thin. So what she's going to do is just allow her hair to keep growing down and then take it off gradually. Now, the one thing about doing that is you shouldn't wait 8 to 10 weeks to get your trim. You should get them a little more often. So I know that if you don't like trims in the first place, or you don't want to just go for it, I know getting a trim, you know, this soon and this close to your last trim might feel like a lot, but that's the only way to really get that damage off, because at the end of the day, if you don't get those splits off, it's just going to keep traveling up the shaft. So you want to make sure that you get those splits off as soon as possible. Now, I also blow dry with our regular dryer today. I did that on purpose because, you know, some people are like, we miss seeing the other blow dryer. So I say, let's mix it up, you know. So I use the regular blow dryer on Barbara instead of the Rev Air. So right now I'm just lifting her hair and just giving her a light little layer and hitting those strands that don't reach down to the perimeter. So, you know, just to make sure that I catch as many ends and splits as I possibly can. So that's what's going on here. I don't film this part of the trim often, but I feel like it's important for me to start showing it more, because I don't want you guys to think that it's okay to just trim the perimeter. You should trim the whole head. Every strand matters, because you don't want to cause breakage. You end up with healthy ends in one part of the hair but not anywhere else. So that doesn't really make sense. So you got to definitely make sure that you hit every strand that you can. Oh, also, I was about to talk about the cutting collar. The cutting collar is just a device that I used and created with lines on it that you can use as a guideline, or you can use it as leverage to lean against. Because a lot of times I see people cutting on towels. The towels have loops in them that grab onto the shears, so it gets you a little hung up in your trim. And then the cape is kind of, it waves up, so the hair is just not laying correctly. So that cutting collar is called Steady Cutting Collar at deeperthanhair.com. You could grab one and it'll help you with everything that you need to get the most precise trim. Okay, so now I'm just getting that underneath. The underneath, y'all watch Tony Baker? Do y'all follow him on Instagram? I love him. His wordplay is crazy. And anything under, he says from the underneath. So that's how I've been like displaying, like whenever I got a cut at the nape like that, I'm like, you gotta make sure you trim the hair on the underneath. So I'm going in with my 22 Titania iron in the color Signature Royal. And I am just going to give her some flat iron curls. They're going to be like medium tight. They're going to be kind of tight, but not really. We're going to make sure she have enough flow to it. And I'm just going to go in and, you know, curl her hair. Come off of the curl soft and gently. That's what helps it be a little loose, because simply what I noticed too about people who don't really want to go in and trim all of their hair off yet, they also like to show their length, and that's okay. I love showing my length. That's one of the reasons why I don't love tight curls as much as someone else may, because I like my length to show, and I'm fine with that, you know. I don't think that I should be judged or none of the clients should be judged for that. So that's why I also usually go for it when I'm wearing my real hair. I go for straight more than curly a lot, just because, you know, I want to see them what is it called? Oh, hang time. That's what I was about to say. What was it called when you get braids? Back in the day when guys used to get braids, it was called hang time. When he was talking about how long the hair was. So yeah, I want to see my hang time. You know what I mean? I worked hard for my hang time, so I want it out. So just a few things I want to address while I'm curling. One, I'm going to start with the most important. The scammers are still on the loose, okay? The scammers are still on the loose. I'll try to contact YouTube about this. Maybe y'all can help me. But the first thing we can do, anytime somebody reaches out to you guys and tell them that it's me, just pay attention to like the page that's doing it. Just because it's my profile picture or they're like using a name that sounds like Deeper Than Hair, but once somebody asks you for money, I would never in my entire days ever ask any of you for money, especially for like say they're running around like, yeah, you won a contest, you won this, send the money here and I'll send you a gift. It's like, why would I ask for money for a gift? You know, but I know we get excited. You know, it's things that I'm really into, and I would get excited too. Back in the day, my mom used to always clown me because I was like the Publishers Clearinghouse girl. I used to be like, Publishers Clearinghouse sent something to our house. They said we're gonna win $10 million. She'd be like, are you serious? Like, she would always say, you got to be serious. Like, pay attention. I'm like, but they be going to the house and they come with all the balloons. We gonna get money. And so I get being excited about something, and you know, I'm super genuine when it all boils down to it. But I would never ask you guys for money, so do not send your money to anybody, because they are scamming. They do not deserve it, and they are stressing me out. So I've been doing a lot of reporting, but anytime you see somebody doing it, just report it right away. Like, I want to report them so much that they just get really tired of keep on making pages and trying to scam my subscribers. It's unfair to me, it's unfair to all of us, and I just want them out of here. I'm over it. Okay, so that's the most important thing. The second next thing is, I don't know what's going on with YouTube. We talked about this before, but the algorithm is off. It's just something's going on really crazy. So if you don't have your notifications set your notifications, because I'll like post a few weeks in a row and people are like, oh, where you been? I haven't seen anything. And it's like, it hasn't even been coming up in the feed. So make sure that you guys set your notifications on, so when I post, you will see it right away. I will be posting every week again soon. I had to be honest with myself. Like, when I tell people to start a YouTube channel and they're like, but what about the filming and the editing? And I'm like, I understand being intimidated, because I used to be too. But for the last 8 years, I've been filming and editing myself. But this week, I hired a videographer. I said, you know what? I need help. And I went from, I film like one video a week, maybe two videos if I'm feeling real ambitious, because it's a lot of work. You know, I'm curling the hair, I'm running back behind the camera, I'm curling hair. Oh, did I get that? Then I'm going back, I'm like, oh man, my arm was in the way. So this week I just was like, you know what? You need a team sometimes. Teamwork make the dream work. I've mastered what I needed to do. And when you master something, you're able to show somebody else what you need. You know what I mean? So I finally hired help, and I went from filming one video in a week to filming 15 this week. 3 days. I filmed 15 videos in 3 days. And so I'm going to do that all summer, and I'm going to make sure, me and my videographer together are going to make sure that we post a video every single week. So I know I have you guys supporting this, because, you know, y'all been supporting me since day one. I can't thank y'all enough for just always being here and always being so pleasant and supportive. And I got a lot of new fun things up my sleeve that I want to do for y'all. I'm not going to tell y'all what it is. I'm just going to pop out with it, and let me know how y'all feel about these things, because I'm excited about them. And I hope you guys are just as excited about the things that I'm going to have come into. When the first hair salon I ever worked at, it was called Fees. It used to be called Phoenix, and then the owner split, so it was called Fees. And I worked there for 6 years. And when I went to hair school and when I worked at my first salon, we used Marcel curlers all the time. We did not use flat irons. And so when flat irons first hit the scene, one of the stylists at our salon, her name was Shannon. She was the first one. She's the first one. She said, this is what's coming, ceramic irons. And we were looking at it like, you know, I'm one of those, if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of girls. I just thought it was ridiculous to have a plug-in device at the salon. Like, people can use these at home, you know? And so I just started getting more into them. Like, well, what's the benefits, you know? So you had to like weigh out the pros and cons. And one of my favorite things about the irons was just simply that the temperature was even. One of the issues with Marcel's is, you know, the farther into the stove, the hotter the stove is. So the tip of the Marcel iron was always way more hot than the end, the side towards the handle. So you had to be very careful. So when you do Marcel's, you always have to do a heat test on a paper towel, and you can even see the color doing a graduation of dark to light, so you have to wait till it was all gone, all that dark color gone, because that's when you know that it wouldn't burn the hair. So the best part about the flat iron is just even all the way through. You don't have to worry about ever burning the hair. The only way you can burn the hair is just doing multiple passes, and even then you can't singe the hair. Flat irons don't get hot enough to singe the hair like a Marcel does. So I started getting into it, because even in my mind, I'm like, there's no way that it's even hot enough to get the hair straight. And they were, so I'm just in awe that we have come this far. I'm just going to tap her edges. I haven't talked about the hair this whole time for real. I'm just tapping her edges and straightening them, because sometimes I hot comb the edges and sometimes I don't. The same thing with the hot comb. It's the same exact thing. You put it in the stove, it's hotter the farther into the stove you go. So you got to be super careful. Always do a heat test on the paper towel, just to make sure that everything is good and you are not burning the hair. But yeah, you can just, you don't want to burn the hair. You don't want to overdo, just putting that heat on and messing with the integrity of the natural curl pattern, unless you're into that. I don't want to talk about heat training today, because I like, how y'all like to tussle, so I don't want to talk about that today. But some people don't care about their natural curl pattern, but you still want to keep your hair nice and healthy and just heavy and in its best state. So just do one pass, okay? And even if you do two, because sometimes, let's be for real, like sometimes you have to do a press first and then go in for the curl. But even when you go in for the curl, do bigger sections. Just do whatever you can not to put so much concentrated heat on such a small section of hair at once. When it comes to this section here, I'm just bringing her hair towards the front. Now, when you get your hair done, do you struggle with your part where you want? Because I always ask everybody where they want their part. I usually ask them, unless they're getting like a serious trim, I usually ask them during a blow dry, because it just helps. You could blow dry the part and it helps it stay. But where do you put your part? In the middle or on the side? I want to know, like, do you change it up, or are you just married to that part? Me, I change mine around a lot, but I want to know. Talk to me. So Barbara's hair is done. It's so beautiful, fluffy. It's nice and full. Barbara, I'm not playing with you. It's time for you to get your trim soon. So, see, it's just nice and full of volume. You can't even tell that it's thin in that middle like that, just because of the kind of hairstyle she had. Now, if she had straight hair, you will be able to see right through it. But this right here helps you to just helps to camouflage what she has going on. And again, it wasn't that serious. It was there, but it wasn't terrible. So Barbara's happy. She's awesome. She's all smiles. We be having some good conversation in the shop. We be having a blast. I'm at Devontae's shop right now. Anytime you see those blue cabinets, I'm at Devontae's. He's in LA at You Got the Look Hair Studio. I'll tag him below too. And Barbara's happy, see? As always, guys, I just want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Make sure you subscribe, tell a friend, and I will see you all next time. Okay, bye.